You wake up every morning scrolling through the success stories of others, secretly wondering why prosperity feels so distant from your life. You work hard, you dream big, yet something invisible holds you back from the wealth you know you deserve. You tell yourself it's about timing, about luck, about connections you don't have. But deep in your heart, you suspect the truth is far more unsettling. I am Solomon, and I became the richest man in history not by chasing gold, but by understanding a secret that most people never discover. Wealth doesn't come to those who desperately need it. It comes to those who are ready to receive it without being destroyed by it. You see, money is not neutral. It amplifies everything you already are inside. If you are broken, money will magnify that brokenness until it consumes you. If you are whole, wealth becomes a tool for transformation that extends far beyond your own life. This is why the universe withholds prosperity from most people, not out of cruelty, but out of mercy. Today, I will reveal to you the 7 unmistakable signs that you have developed the inner character necessary to receive wealth and multiply it with wisdom. These are not motivational platitudes or surface strategies. These are the deep spiritual and emotional markers that separate those who build lasting empires from those who destroy everything they touch. If you recognize these signs within yourself, you are closer to breakthrough than you realize. If you don't see them yet, this knowledge will become your roadmap to the person you must become before the riches can safely flow into your hands. This is not about getting rich quick. This is about getting rich right, about transforming yourself into someone worthy of the responsibility that true wealth demands. Someone who understands that prosperity is not a reward for greed, but a sacred trust for those who have learned to love silence more than applause, wisdom more than wealth, and purpose more than personal gain. If you are ready to examine your heart with brutal honesty and discover whether you possess the hidden qualities of those destined for prosperity, then subscribe now. Because what I am about to share will either accelerate your journey to abundance or reveal exactly what you still need to heal before that journey can truly begin. Number 1, the root of the problem. You tell yourself that you deserve wealth because you work harder than others. You watch those around you living in abundance while you struggle, and a bitter voice whispers that life is unfair, that success is about luck or connections you lack. But deep in the shadows of your heart, where you rarely dare to look, lives a truth you refuse to acknowledge. You are not ready for the very thing you desperately crave. I speak to you as one who possessed more gold than entire kingdoms, who commanded resources that could reshape nations. Yet I tell you this with the weight of experience, not theory. The greatest tragedy I witnessed was not poverty, but wealth in the hands of the unprepared. I saw men who had nothing become everything, only to destroy themselves and everyone around them when abundance finally arrived. The universe operates by laws more precise than those governing the movement of stars. One of these immutable laws is this: wealth amplifies what already exists within you. If you are broken inside, money will not heal you. It will magnify your brokenness until it consumes everything you touch. If you are whole, wealth becomes a tool of transformation that extends far beyond your own life. Picture a man carrying water in a cracked vessel. No matter how much water you pour into it, it will always leak until the cracks are mended. Most people approach wealth like this broken vessel, believing that if only they had more money flowing in, their problems would be solved. But the cracks remain, and the abundance flows away as quickly as it arrives, often leaving them worse than before. I remember a merchant in my court who had struggled for years to build his trade. He would come to me regularly, asking for loans, for opportunities, for favor. His eyes burned with hunger, but it was not the clean hunger of purpose. It was the desperate hunger of a man trying to fill an inner void with external things. When fortune finally smiled upon him and his ventures succeeded beyond his wildest dreams, I watched him transform into someone unrecognizable. The money amplified his insecurities. his need for validation, his fear of loss. Within 3 years, he had lost everything and died alone, having destroyed every relationship in his desperate attempt to hold onto what was never meant to be hoarded. This is why most people remain distant from prosperity, not because the universe is cruel, but because it is merciful. True abundance requires a foundation strong enough to support its weight. Without this foundation, wealth becomes a burden too heavy for the soul to bear. The first question you must ask yourself is not how to get rich, but why you want to be rich. If your answer comes from a place of pain, from a desire to prove something to others, from a need to fill an emotional void, then you are not ready. Wealth pursued from this place becomes a drug that requires increasingly larger doses to provide the same temporary relief, until it ultimately destroys the very life it was meant to improve. But if your desire for wealth comes from a place of wholeness, from a genuine desire to serve, to create, to solve meaningful problems in the world, then you are approaching the sacred threshold where abundance can safely enter your life. The path to true prosperity begins not with financial strategies or business plans, but with the courageous work of healing your inner landscape. Until you can find peace in simplicity, abundance in gratitude, and purpose beyond personal gain, wealth will continue to elude you, not as punishment, but as protection. Number 2, loving silence more than approval. You live in a world that never stops talking, never stops demanding your attention, never stops trying to tell you who you should be and what you should want. Every day, you are bombarded with voices telling you to be faster, louder, more visible. You have been conditioned to believe that success means having everyone know your name, that wealth means showing it off, that wisdom means having all the answers immediately available on your tongue. But I tell you a secret that transformed my reign and my relationship with abundance. The deepest truths, the most profound insights, the clearest direction for your life, none of these come from the noise around you. They come from the sacred space of silence, where your soul can finally hear itself speak. Wisdom does not shout from rooftops. It whispers in the quiet moments before dawn, when the world is still and your mind is free from the demands of others. It speaks in the pause between thoughts, in the space between heartbeats, in the moments when you stop trying to impress and start trying to understand. I learned this lesson in the most painful way possible. There was a time when a plague threatened my kingdom, and my advisors surrounded me with competing voices, each certain their solution was correct. The priests demanded more sacrifices. The generals wanted to isolate affected areas by force. The merchants insisted on maintaining trade to prevent economic collapse. Everyone spoke with absolute certainty, and everyone expected immediate action. But something within me, call it intuition or divine guidance, urged me to retreat into solitude before deciding. For 3 days, I spoke to no one. I sat in my private chambers, away from the noise of court, away from the pressure to act decisively for the sake of appearing strong. In that silence, a solution emerged that none of my advisors had considered. Instead of fighting the plague with force or denial, we would embrace it as a teacher. We established healing centers that became models of care, training a new generation of healers whose knowledge would serve the kingdom for generations. The decision was unpopular at first. My advisors questioned my leadership. The people wondered if their king had grown weak. But I had learned to love silence more than approval, and in that silence, I had found wisdom that saved thousands of lives and strengthened the kingdom in ways that force never could. This is the first sign that you are ready for true wealth, when you can sit with yourself in complete silence and feel comfortable with what you find there, when you no longer need constant validation from others to know your worth, when you can make decisions based on inner wisdom rather than external pressure. Most people are terrified of silence because in silence, they must face themselves without the distractions that usually keep uncomfortable truths at bay. In silence, you cannot hide from your real motivations, your genuine fears, your authentic desires. This is why so few people ever develop the capacity for true discernment that wealth requires. But those brave enough to cultivate a relationship with silence discover something extraordinary. In the quiet spaces of their souls, they find access to wisdom that no amount of external advice can provide. They learn to distinguish between the voice of ego, which always seeks more for the sake of having more, and the voice of purpose, which seeks resources as tools for meaningful contribution. Every morning before I engaged with the demands of ruling, I spent time in complete silence. Not meditation with techniques or prayers with words, but simple, profound silence. In that space, I could feel whether a decision was driven by wisdom or by the need to appear successful. I could sense whether an opportunity aligned with my deeper purpose or merely fed my ego. I could hear the quiet voice that never lies, never exaggerates, never seeks to impress, but always guides toward truth. Start practicing this sacred discipline. Each day, find moments of complete silence. Not silence filled with music or distraction, but true silence where you can hear your own heartbeat, your own thoughts, your own deepest knowing. In this space, ask yourself the hard questions. Why do you really want wealth? What would you do with abundance if no one ever knew you had it? What problems in the world genuinely call to your heart, regardless of whether solving them would bring recognition or reward? Those who can love silence more than approval have taken the first step toward becoming worthy stewards of great wealth. Number 3, wisdom as the foundation of prosperity. You have been taught to pursue wealth through cleverness, through strategy, through the accumulation of techniques and tactics. You study market trends, investment strategies, business models, believing that if you just learn enough systems, prosperity will inevitably follow. But I tell you this with the weight of having commanded the wealth of nations. There is a difference between being rich and being prosperous, between having money and having wisdom, between accumulating resources and stewarding abundance. True prosperity is not about the size of your bank account. It is about the depth of your understanding, the quality of your decisions, the sustainability of your impact. I have seen men with vast fortunes lose everything in a single foolish decision, and I have seen men with modest means create legacies that endure for generations. The difference was not in their initial resources, but in their relationship with wisdom. Wisdom is like a deep well in the desert. Most people, desperate with thirst, grab water from any source they can find, only to discover too late that they have poisoned themselves. But those who take time to dig deep, to find the pure source beneath the surface, discover water that not only quenches their thirst, but becomes a spring that serves many. I remember a young merchant who came to me seeking advice about a business venture. He had identified a trade route that promised enormous profits, and he wanted my blessing to invest everything he owned in this opportunity. On the surface, his analysis was sound, his projections reasonable, his enthusiasm infectious. But when I questioned him more deeply, I discovered that his motivations were entirely wrong. He wanted this wealth to prove to his father that he was worthy of respect. He wanted to surpass his more successful brother. He wanted to buy the affection of a woman who had rejected him for someone richer. Every reason he gave for pursuing this opportunity was rooted in emotional wounds rather than genuine purpose. I advised him to wait, to first heal the relationships that were driving his desperate hunger for success, to discover what he truly wanted to contribute to the world beyond impressing others. He ignored my counsel, invested everything, and though the venture initially succeeded beyond his expectations, his lack of inner foundation led to increasingly reckless decisions. Within 2 years, he had lost everything, including the relationships he had been trying to win through wealth. This story illustrates a principle that governs all true prosperity. Wealth without wisdom is temporary, but wisdom without wealth is incomplete. The goal is not to choose between them, but to ensure that wisdom comes first, creating a foundation strong enough to support lasting abundance. The wise question is never how can I get rich quickly, but how can I become the kind of person who can handle wealth responsibly? How can I develop the character that attracts sustainable prosperity? How can I align my desires for abundance with purposes larger than my own ego? True wisdom begins with understanding that every decision you make is an investment in the person you are becoming. When you choose integrity over immediate profit, you are investing in a reputation that will open doors money alone never could. When you choose to serve others genuinely rather than manipulate them for gain, you are building relationships that become the foundation of lasting prosperity. When you choose to face your own weaknesses honestly rather than blame external circumstances for your struggles, you are developing the self-awareness that prevents the kind of self-sabotage that destroys fortunes. I learned to ask different questions than most people ask. Instead of wondering which investment would yield the highest returns, I asked which investments aligned with my values and served my people. Instead of seeking the fastest path to increased revenue, I focused on building systems that would create value for generations. Instead of trying to outsmart my competitors, I concentrated on becoming so valuable to my kingdom that competition became irrelevant. This shift in questioning changed everything. Opportunities that looked attractive from a purely financial perspective revealed themselves as traps when examined through the lens of wisdom. Investments that seemed modest in their immediate returns proved to be foundations for extraordinary long-term prosperity. Relationships that offered no apparent financial benefit became sources of insight and opportunity that shaped the destiny of my reign. Start asking wiser questions in your own life. Before pursuing any opportunity, ask yourself whether this aligns with your deepest values. Ask whether this serves something larger than your personal desires. Ask whether you would make the same choice if no one else would ever know about it. Ask whether this decision is coming from your highest self or your wounded ego. Wisdom transforms not just what you choose, but how you choose, and ultimately, who you become in the process of choosing. Number 4, emotional relationship with money. You have wounds that money will never heal. Deep inside, beneath the rational explanations you give for wanting wealth, lies a pain that whispers seductive lies. It tells you that if you just had enough money, you would finally feel secure. It promises that wealth will prove your worth to those who doubted you. It suggests that abundance will fill the emptiness that has haunted you since childhood. But I have lived in palaces of gold, surrounded by luxuries beyond imagination, and I tell you this truth. Money amplifies what is already within you. It does not transform what is broken. I speak from experience that few humans have ever possessed. I commanded wealth that could reshape entire civilizations. My palaces contained treasures that kings would wage wars to obtain. I ate from golden plates, wore robes worth more than most men would earn in lifetimes, and had access to every pleasure that money could purchase. Yet in the midst of this abundance, I discovered a truth that shattered every assumption I had held about the relationship between wealth and happiness. The things that money could buy brought diminishing returns. The first golden cup was a marvel, the 100th was merely functional. The first feast was a celebration, the 1000th was just dinner. The first expensive possession brought joy. But that joy faded so quickly that I found myself constantly needing more, better, grander acquisitions, just to feel the same brief surge of satisfaction. I was caught in a cycle that no amount of money could break, because the problem was not in my external circumstances, but in my internal expectations. Picture a man dying of thirst in the desert who believes that wine will quench his thirst better than water. No matter how much wine he drinks, his thirst only intensifies because he is trying to solve a problem with a substance that cannot address the real need. This is what most people do with money and emotional pain. They try to heal inner wounds with external acquisitions, not understanding that this approach only makes the wounds deeper. I remember a period when the weight of my responsibilities felt crushing, when the loneliness of leadership seemed unbearable, when the constant demands of ruling left me feeling empty despite being surrounded by abundance. In that darkness, I tried to buy my way out of pain. I commissioned greater building projects, acquired more exotic pleasures, surrounded myself with entertainers and flatterers. For brief moments, these distractions worked, but they always left me feeling more hollow than before. The turning point came when I realized I was using wealth as a drug, trying to medicate emotional pain instead of addressing its source. I was treating symptoms rather than causes, buying temporary relief rather than seeking genuine healing. This recognition forced me to confront the uncomfortable truth that no amount of external abundance could fill an internal void. True prosperity requires healing your relationship with money itself. Money must become a tool in your hands, not a bandage for your wounds. It must serve your purposes rather than define your worth. It must flow through your life as a means of contribution, rather than stagnate as a measure of your value as a human being. The dangerous trap that destroys so many who achieve wealth is believing that money will solve problems it was never designed to address. Money cannot heal a broken heart, but it can fund the therapy that leads to healing. Money cannot create genuine relationships, but it can provide the freedom to invest time in building meaningful connections. Money cannot give your life meaning, but it can remove obstacles that prevent you from pursuing your true purpose. I learned to find joy in the simplest things first, before seeking pleasure in expensive things. I practiced gratitude for basic blessings before celebrating extraordinary acquisitions. I cultivated contentment with enough before pursuing abundance. This foundation of inner peace became the bedrock upon which healthy prosperity could be built. Ask yourself these hard questions. What pain are you hoping money will heal? What void are you expecting wealth to fill? What insecurity are you planning to solve through financial success? Until you can answer these questions honestly and address these underlying needs directly, money will remain a temporary bandage over permanent wounds. The goal is not to eliminate desire for wealth, but to purify your motivations for seeking it. When you can honestly say that you would be content without money, but excited about what you could accomplish with it, you have begun to develop the healthy relationship with abundance that makes prosperity safe for your soul. Money becomes dangerous when you need it to feel whole. It becomes powerful when you are already complete and can use it as an extension of your purpose rather than a substitute for your peace. Number 5, patience as an indispensable virtue. You live in a world that has forgotten the power of waiting. Everything around you promises instant results, immediate gratification, shortcuts to success. You have been conditioned to believe that if something takes time, it must not be worth pursuing, that if results do not come quickly, you must be doing something wrong. But I built the most magnificent temple the world had ever seen, and I tell you this, every stone was placed with patience, every beam was positioned with careful timing, and the glory of that temple endured for centuries because it was built by those who understood that greatness cannot be rushed. Patience is not passive waiting. It is active preparation, strategic timing, and the profound wisdom to understand that the most valuable things in life require time to develop properly. Impatience destroys more dreams than failure ever could, because impatience leads to decisions that sacrifice long-term vision for short-term relief. I learned this lesson before I ever became king, when my father David was building the foundation for what would become my temple. He spent years gathering materials, forming relationships with craftsmen, establishing trade routes for rare resources. To an impatient observer, he appeared to be moving too slowly, taking too long to begin the actual construction. But his patience was not delay, it was preparation. When the time came for me to build, every element was perfectly positioned, every resource was available, every craftsman was trained and ready. Think of patience as the soil in which prosperity grows. You cannot force a seed to sprout faster by digging it up to check its progress. You cannot make a tree bear fruit by pulling on its branches. You cannot create sustainable wealth by constantly manipulating and adjusting your investments. The deepest roots grow in darkness, in silence, in the patient space between planting and harvest. I remember a merchant who came to me with an idea for a communication network using trained birds. His concept was brilliant, his planning thorough, his passion genuine. But he wanted immediate implementation, instant results, rapid expansion across the entire kingdom. When I suggested he start small, test the system locally, refine the process before scaling, he grew frustrated with what he saw as unnecessary delays. Against my counsel, he launched his network across multiple cities simultaneously. The lack of proper preparation led to chaos. Birds got lost, messages were delayed, customers lost confidence, and his entire venture collapsed within months. 20 years later, another merchant approached me with a similar idea. But this man had spent years studying bird behavior, training different species, testing various routes. His patient approach created the most reliable communication system in the kingdom, generating prosperity that lasted for generations. This contrast illustrates a truth that governs all lasting success. Patience is not about moving slowly, it is about moving wisely. It is about building foundations strong enough to support the weight of your ambitions. It is about developing skills deeply enough to handle the challenges that success will bring. It is about cultivating character sturdy enough to remain unchanged by the changes that abundance creates. Most people abandon their dreams not because their dreams were impossible, but because they expected results faster than reality allows. They plant seeds on Monday and expect fruit by Friday. They start businesses and panic when profits do not materialize immediately. They make investments and check their value obsessively, making changes based on daily fluctuations rather than long-term trends. But those who understand the power of patience approach opportunities differently. They ask not whether something will work quickly, but whether it will work sustainably. They focus not on immediate returns but on compound growth. They build not for the next quarter, but for the next generation. Patience protects you from the traps that destroy impatient wealth seekers. It keeps you from jumping into deals that look attractive on the surface, but lack solid foundations. It prevents you from abandoning profitable strategies just because they take longer than expected to show results. It helps you resist the temptation to risk everything on promises of quick returns. I practice patience in small things to build the strength for patience in large things. I learned to finish conversations completely instead of rushing to the next thing. I practiced listening to entire reports before forming judgments. I trained myself to consider decisions overnight instead of responding immediately. These small exercises in patience built the capacity to wait years for the right opportunities rather than settling for immediate but inferior options. Develop practical patterns that cultivate patience in your daily life. Resist the urge to check your investments every day. Practice making decisions slowly, gathering information fully before acting. Learn to view delays not as obstacles, but as opportunities for additional preparation. Train yourself to find satisfaction in the process of building, rather than only in the completion of projects. Remember that everything valuable in your life came through patience. Your skills developed over time. Your meaningful relationships grew through consistent investment. Your deepest insights emerged through careful reflection. Wealth that lasts follows the same pattern, growing steadily through patient cultivation rather than appearing suddenly through desperate grasping. Those who master patience possess a strategic advantage that no amount of cleverness can match, because they can outlast their impatient competitors and outlive their temporary setbacks. Number 6, recognizing value in the overlooked. You walk through life surrounded by treasures that others ignore, opportunities that remain invisible to conventional wisdom, solutions that hide in plain sight because they do not match what people expect success to look like. The greatest fortunes in history were built by those who possessed the rare gift of seeing value where others saw nothing, of recognizing potential where others saw problems, of discovering gold buried beneath what everyone else dismissed as worthless dirt. This ability to perceive hidden value is not luck, intuition, or some mystical talent reserved for the gifted few. It is a skill that can be developed through careful observation, disciplined thinking, and the courage to look beyond surface appearances. It requires training your mind to ask different questions, to examine what others overlook, to consider possibilities that conventional thinking automatically rejects. The crowd see only what is obvious, what is already successful, what has already been validated by popular opinion. But by the time something becomes obvious to everyone, the greatest opportunities have already been claimed by those who recognized its value when it was still hidden. True prosperity comes to those who can spot diamonds before they are polished, who can recognize oak trees while they are still acorns, who can see the finished masterpiece within the rough stone. I learned this principle through a young man who appeared at my court with no credentials, no recommendations, no impressive background. He was just a stable keeper who had spent years observing horses and had developed ideas about cavalry tactics that contradicted everything my military advisors believed. My generals dismissed him immediately, seeing only his low status and lack of formal training. But something in his eyes suggested a depth of understanding that formal education had not provided. I listened to his ideas privately, and what I heard challenged every assumption about mounted warfare. His innovations seemed impossible to men who had studied military strategy for decades, but they were based on direct observation of how horses actually behave rather than how books said they should behave. When I tested his methods, they revolutionized our cavalry and contributed to victories that expanded the kingdom's territory significantly. This young man possessed something more valuable than knowledge. He possessed the ability to see clearly without the distortion of preconceived notions. While others saw horses as mere transportation, he saw partners with unique capabilities. While others applied human logic to animal behavior, he learned to understand horses on their own terms. His fresh perspective revealed possibilities that expertise had made invisible. The same principle applies to every area of human endeavor. The most profitable investments are often in companies that are too small, too new, or too unconventional to attract attention from major investors. The most innovative solutions come from people working outside established industries, unencumbered by the limitations that insiders accept as unchangeable. The most transformative ideas emerge from combining insights from seemingly unrelated fields. But recognizing hidden value requires overcoming several natural biases that blind most people to opportunity. We tend to dismiss ideas that come from unexpected sources. We assume that if something were truly valuable, someone important would have already discovered it. We trust credentials more than results, reputation more than innovation, consensus more than truth. I trained myself to evaluate ideas based on their merit rather than their source. When someone presented a proposal, I learned to ask not who they were, but whether their idea solved a real problem. I practiced listening to complete explanations before forming judgments, especially when initial impressions were negative. I made it a discipline to find something valuable in every conversation, even with people who seemed to have nothing important to offer. This practice transformed my perception and revealed opportunities that had been invisible before. I discovered that servants often understood the practical problems of the kingdom better than advisors who never left their offices. I learned that merchants from distant lands carried innovations that could benefit our own economy. I found that children asked questions that exposed flaws in systems that adults had accepted without examination. The key is developing genuine curiosity about things that others ignore. Instead of dismissing unfamiliar ideas immediately, train yourself to ask why someone believes them. Instead of focusing only on established successful people, pay attention to those who are quietly solving problems in innovative ways. Instead of following popular trends, look for emerging patterns that have not yet attracted widespread attention. Start practicing this skill in small ways. In conversations, listen for insights that others might miss. In your industry, notice problems that everyone complains about but no one attempts to solve. In your daily life, observe inefficiencies that have become so normal that people no longer question them. Each of these represents potential value waiting to be recognized and developed. Those who master the art of seeing hidden value possess the foundation for extraordinary prosperity, because they can create wealth where others see only obstacles and discover opportunities where others encounter only problems. Number 7, stewardship mentality. You believe you own things that were never yours to begin with. Your money, your possessions, your success, even your talents and abilities. You treat them as permanent acquisitions when they are actually temporary loans from a universe that entrusts resources to those who prove they can multiply them wisely. This illusion of ownership creates the very anxiety, greed, and poor decisions that prevent lasting prosperity, because you cannot properly manage what you fundamentally misunderstand. Everything you have is on loan, including your life itself. This is not a philosophical abstraction or religious sentiment. It is a practical reality that transforms how you handle resources once you truly understand it. When you realize that you are not the owner but the steward, not the master but the manager, not the final destination but the temporary custodian, everything about your relationship with wealth changes in ways that actually increase your capacity to attract and multiply abundance. The owner mentality leads to hoarding, fear-based decisions, and short-term thinking. Those who believe they permanently possess their resources become paralyzed by the fear of losing them. They make conservative choices that preserve what they have rather than bold choices that multiply what they have been given. They focus on protecting their wealth instead of deploying it strategically. They think like landlords trying to collect rent, rather than like gardeners trying to cultivate growth. But the stewardship mentality creates freedom, wisdom, and exponential thinking. When you understand that your resources are on loan, you become less attached to outcomes and more focused on faithful management. You worry less about loss because you never truly owned anything to begin with. You make decisions based on multiplication rather than preservation, on service rather than security, on impact rather than accumulation. I learned this lesson through the construction of the temple, the most expensive project of my reign. The resources required were staggering: gold, silver, precious stones, rare woods, skilled craftsmen, years of labor. From an ownership perspective, this project was financial madness, an enormous expense that would deplete the treasury and provide no measurable return on investment. But I understood that these resources had not been given to me for my personal benefit. They had been entrusted to me for a purpose larger than my own comfort or security. The temple was not an expense but an investment in something eternal, something that would serve generations long after I was gone. By stewarding these resources toward their highest purpose, rather than hoarding them for personal security, I participated in creating something that multiplied value in ways that pure profit never could. Think of yourself as a gardener rather than a warehouse manager. A warehouse manager focuses on preventing theft, maintaining inventory, protecting what is stored. But a gardener focuses on growth, multiplication, creating conditions where small seeds become abundant harvests. The gardener does not fear losing seeds to the soil, because he understands that buried seeds multiply while hoarded seeds simply decay. This shift in perspective changes every aspect of how you handle money. Instead of asking how much you can keep, you ask how much you can grow. Instead of seeking investments that guarantee protection of capital, you seek investments that maximize meaningful impact. Instead of building walls to protect your wealth, you build systems to multiply it through service to others. The stewardship mentality also transforms your relationship with failure and loss. When you own something, losing it feels like losing part of yourself. But when you steward something, losing it simply means the loan period has ended, and you can receive the next assignment without being devastated by grief or paralyzed by fear. This emotional freedom allows you to take calculated risks that owners would never consider, leading to breakthroughs that timid ownership mentality makes impossible. I practice stewardship in small things to prepare for stewardship of large things. Instead of consuming all the fruit from my personal gardens, I shared it with visitors and saved seeds for future planting. Instead of keeping my best ideas to myself, I taught them to others who could implement them in ways I never could. Instead of using my position only for personal benefit, I looked for ways every decision could serve the broader good of the kingdom. This practice multiplied everything I touched. Resources shared became resources multiplied. Knowledge distributed became innovation accelerated. Authority used for service became influence that extended far beyond what power alone could achieve. The more I operated as a steward rather than an owner, the more resources the universe seemed to entrust to my care. Start thinking like a steward of your current resources, regardless of how small they may seem. Ask yourself, if these resources were on loan to me for the purpose of maximum positive impact, how would I deploy them differently? If I knew I would be accountable for how well I multiplied what I have been given, what changes would I make in my financial decisions? If my goal were to prove worthy of greater trust rather than simply to accumulate more possessions, how would this change my priorities? Those who embrace the stewardship mentality discover that the universe tends to entrust greater resources to those who have proven they can faithfully multiply smaller resources for purposes beyond themselves. Number 8. Discernment and courage as keys to prosperity. You know more than you act upon. Deep within your consciousness, beneath the noise of doubt and the pressure of convention, lives a voice that perceives truth with startling clarity. It warns you about people who smile while planning your destruction. It whispers about opportunities that others cannot yet see. It reveals the deception in deals that look profitable on the surface. But knowing the truth and acting upon it are separated by a chasm that destroys more potential fortunes than ignorance ever could. That chasm is the gap between discernment and courage. Discernment without courage is merely interesting information that leads nowhere. Courage without discernment is dangerous impulse that leads to destruction. But discernment combined with courage becomes the foundation of prosperity that endures through every season, because it allows you to see clearly and act decisively on what you perceive, regardless of whether others understand your choices or support your decisions. Most people possess more discernment than they realize, but they lack the courage to trust what they perceive. They sense that a business partner is dishonest, but they ignore the warning because confronting the truth would be uncomfortable. They recognize that an investment opportunity has hidden dangers, but they proceed anyway because backing out would require admitting they were wrong. They perceive that their current path is leading toward failure, but they continue walking it because changing direction would mean disappointing others or facing uncertainty. I learned the devastating cost of ignoring discernment during the 3rd year of my reign, when a trusted advisor began showing subtle signs of disloyalty. My intuition detected inconsistencies in his reports, noticed his eagerness to isolate me from certain information, sensed an energy around him that felt deceptive. But he had served faithfully for years, came highly recommended, and confronting him would have created political complications that I wanted to avoid. For months, I ignored what I was perceiving, hoping I was wrong, convincing myself that my suspicions were unfounded. But discernment that is not acted upon does not disappear, it intensifies. The whispers became shouts, the subtle signs became obvious patterns, until I could no longer deny what I had known from the beginning. When I finally investigated his activities, I discovered a network of betrayal that had been growing for over a year, threatening not just my throne but the stability of the entire kingdom. The cost of my delayed response was enormous. Had I acted on my initial discernment, a simple conversation might have resolved the issue or revealed the deception early enough to minimize damage. Instead, my lack of courage in facing an uncomfortable truth allowed a small problem to become a crisis that required dramatic action and caused pain for many innocent people. But this painful lesson taught me something invaluable about the relationship between discernment and prosperity. Every successful decision I made thereafter began with honest perception followed by courageous action. I learned to trust what I sensed even when I could not yet prove it. I developed the habit of investigating my intuitive warnings rather than dismissing them. I built systems that rewarded people for bringing me difficult truths rather than comfortable lies. Discernment operates like spiritual surgery, revealing what needs to be healed or removed from your life. It shows you which relationships are toxic even when they appear beneficial. It exposes which opportunities are traps disguised as blessings. It identifies which beliefs are limiting you even when they feel safe and familiar. But like physical surgery, spiritual surgery requires the courage to cut away what is diseased, even when the cutting causes temporary pain. The practice of discernment begins with creating space for honest self-reflection. Most people fill their lives with so much activity and noise that they cannot hear their own inner wisdom. They consume endless information from external sources while ignoring the intelligence that emerges from their own experience and observation. They seek advice from everyone except the part of themselves that actually knows what they need to do. I developed the discipline of solitary reflection before making any significant decision. In the quiet space away from advisors and pressures, I could feel whether a choice aligned with truth or merely with convenience. I could sense whether an opportunity came from genuine value creation or from manipulation and deception. I could perceive whether my motivations were clean or contaminated by ego needs that would ultimately sabotage the outcome. But discernment alone was not enough. I had to develop the courage to act on what I perceived, even when action was uncomfortable, unpopular, or uncertain. This meant ending relationships that felt wrong even when they appeared profitable. It meant saying no to opportunities that others envied, but that my inner wisdom warned against. It meant making decisions that others could not understand, because they had not done the inner work necessary to perceive what I was perceiving. Start practicing discernment by paying attention to your first impressions of people and situations. Notice what you sense before your rational mind begins analyzing and justifying. Pay attention to how your body feels in different environments and relationships. Trust the subtle warnings that emerge before problems become obvious. Then develop the courage to investigate what you perceive and act on what you discover, even when acting requires difficult conversations or unpopular choices. Those who master the combination of discernment and courage possess the foundation for sustainable prosperity, because they can navigate toward opportunity and away from deception with precision that purely rational analysis cannot provide. Number 9. Personal preparation for abundance. You stand at the threshold of a choice that will determine whether abundance flows into your life or continues to elude you despite your best efforts. This choice is not about which investment to make, which opportunity to pursue, or which strategy to implement. This choice is about who you decide to become in the hidden moments when no one is watching. in the quiet spaces where character is forged, in the depths of your soul, where the universe determines whether you can be trusted with the responsibility that true wealth demands. The universe operates by laws more precise than those governing mathematics or physics. One of these laws is that resources flow toward those who have demonstrated their ability to multiply them responsibly. Another is that abundance is attracted to those whose character can handle its weight without being corrupted or destroyed by it. The greatest determining factor in whether you will achieve lasting prosperity is not your intelligence, your connections, or your circumstances. It is whether you have developed the inner capacity to receive wealth without losing your soul in the process. Most people focus their energy on external strategies while ignoring the internal preparation that makes those strategies effective. They study business models while their character remains unchanged. They accumulate knowledge about wealth creation while their motivations remain impure. They pursue opportunities while their foundations remain weak. This is why so many people work hard, learn much, try repeatedly, yet never achieve the lasting prosperity they seek. True abundance requires a quality of being that must be cultivated in darkness, like seeds growing beneath the soil where no one can see their progress. The universe watches how you handle small responsibilities to determine whether you can be entrusted with larger ones. It observes how you treat people who cannot benefit you to assess how you will behave when you have power over others. It tests your character through various challenges to evaluate whether success will make you better or merely bigger. I remember the years before I became king, when I was still Solomon the prince, living in the shadow of my father's greatness. Those were years of preparation that felt like years of waiting, seasons of development that seemed like seasons of delay. I was learning to govern a household before I could govern a kingdom, mastering the management of limited resources before I could be trusted with unlimited ones, developing wisdom in private before I could demonstrate it in public. During that time, I often felt impatient with the pace of my progress, frustrated with the smallness of my influence, eager to move into the larger role I knew was my destiny. But I understand now that those years of hidden preparation were the most important of my life. They were when my character was being forged, when my values were being tested, when my capacity for wisdom was being developed. Without that foundation, the wealth and power I later received would have destroyed me, as they have destroyed so many others who achieved success without first achieving maturity. The preparation for abundance happens in the ordinary moments of daily life. How do you respond when someone treats you unfairly? Do you seek revenge or look for understanding? How do you handle resources when no one is monitoring your choices? Do you waste them carelessly or steward them carefully? How do you react when your plans do not work as expected? Do you blame circumstances or examine your own contributions to the outcome? Every response you make to these small tests either builds or weakens your capacity for greater responsibility. Every choice you make in obscurity either prepares you for visibility or disqualifies you from it. Every decision you make when you have little power either demonstrates your readiness for more power or reveals your unfitness for it. The universe is constantly offering you opportunities to prove your character, but these opportunities rarely look like prosperity tests. They look like difficult people who challenge your patience, inconvenient circumstances that test your integrity, seemingly insignificant choices that reveal your true priorities. How you handle these apparently small matters determines whether you will be considered ready for apparently large matters. This is why some people achieve wealth quickly but lose it just as quickly, while others build prosperity slowly but keep it permanently. The first group received resources before their character was prepared to handle them. The second group developed character first, creating a foundation strong enough to support whatever abundance was later added to it. Examine yourself honestly against the signs we have discussed. Do you love silence more than approval? choosing solitude for reflection over constant validation from others? Have you developed wisdom as your foundation, asking better questions rather than seeking easier answers? Is your emotional relationship with money healthy, or are you trying to heal wounds with wealth? Do you possess the patience that allows you to build lasting value rather than grabbing temporary profits? Can you recognize value in overlooked opportunities that others dismiss? Do you think like a steward rather than an owner, focused on multiplication rather than accumulation? Have you developed discernment combined with the courage to act on what you perceive? These are not abstract concepts or philosophical ideals. They are practical qualities that determine whether abundance will bless your life or burden it, whether wealth will serve your purposes or seduce you away from them, whether prosperity will make you a better person or simply a richer version of who you already are. The invitation before you is not to pursue wealth, but to pursue the character that makes you worthy of wealth. Not to seek abundance, but to become someone who can steward abundance for the benefit of all whose lives you touch. Not to get rich, but to grow rich in the qualities that attract lasting prosperity and make it a blessing rather than a curse. This is the secret that the wealthy understand but rarely speak. Abundance is not a reward for cleverness, but a responsibility given to those who have proven themselves trustworthy stewards of lesser things. The universe does not make people wealthy to make them happy, but entrusts resources to those who will multiply them for purposes beyond personal pleasure. True prosperity comes not to those who want it most, but to those who are prepared to handle it best. The path you have walked today through these ancient truths is not a destination but a doorway. Every word you have absorbed, every recognition that stirred within your soul, every uncomfortable truth that made you pause and look inward, these are seeds that have been planted in the fertile soil of your consciousness. But seeds planted in darkness require tending, watering, protecting from the harsh winds of doubt and the scorching sun of impatience. You now carry within you a sacred blueprint, a map written in the language of the heart that reveals the territory between who you are and who you must become. This territory cannot be crossed in a single day, a single decision, or a single moment of inspiration. It is crossed through the accumulated weight of countless small choices, each one either building the bridge toward your destined abundance or allowing it to crumble beneath the weight of old patterns. I have given you the mirror in which to see yourself truly. Some reflections will comfort you, revealing strengths you had forgotten you possessed. Others will challenge you, exposing weaknesses you had hoped to ignore. Both are gifts, because you cannot heal what you will not acknowledge, and you cannot build upon foundations you refuse to examine. The universe watches how you respond to what you have received today. Will you allow these insights to fade into memory, or will you let them transform into the living substance of your daily choices? Will you return to the familiar comfort of your current limitations, or will you step forward into the uncomfortable expansion that authentic growth demands? If you feel called to continue walking this path of inner preparation, to receive the ongoing guidance that this journey requires, then join this sacred community of those who choose wisdom over comfort, depth over surface, truth over convenience. Subscribe to continue receiving the keys that unlock the chambers of your highest potential. The temple of your true prosperity is being built brick by brick in the invisible realm of your character, and every day you choose growth over stagnation, you place another stone.